You might want to check your email first, Mr. Callahan. I said it calm, steady, but I could see the way his smile faltered just a flicker. A man like Vincent Callahan wasn't used to being challenged, especially not in public. Especially not by a middle-aged black waitress in a small-town cafe he thought he owned because, in a way, he did. Every Tuesday at 8:45 sharp, the place would tense up. Hands shook over coffee pots, dishes clinked louder than they should, people vanished into the stockroom like they'd seen a ghost. Then right on schedule, his navy blue Jaguar would glide up to the curb license plate reading V1NCNT. He'd stroll in like he was royalty, tailored suit, polished shoes, silver hair that looked like it was styled by God himself, and he'd start in on whoever looked the weakest. I'd watched him humiliate my coworkers that first morning, demean a young server for a coffee that wasn't the exact temperature he liked, cut a grown man's pay over a spilled saucer, make Sarah, a single mom, cry because she dared to bring his toast before his eggs. The whole place danced to his ugly little tune. Until me. "Who's that?" he'd ask the manager, eyes narrowing like he was sniffing out prey. That's Claire Morris. First day. I walked over, tied my apron, and looked him dead in the eye. "Mr. Callahan, it's nice to meet you," he smirked. "Not often I see a woman your age starting at the bottom. That's unusual." "Everyone's got their own path," I said, keeping my tone level. He leaned back, savoring the moment. "Do you know who I am?" I nodded. "You own this building, and a lot more around here." "Half the main strip," he corrected. "I could buy and sell everyone in this place 100 times over. So when I come in, I expect perfection. Can you handle that, or should we rip up your hire form now?" I just smiled faintly. I can handle my job. And that was the start of it. The first real test came when he accidentally knocked a full cup of coffee to the floor and told me to clean it up on your knees like a proper cleaning lady. I crouched, swept the shards into the dustpan, and said without looking at him, "This is the proper safety protocol for broken glass, sir. Wouldn't want you facing a workplace injury claim, would we?" The cafe went dead silent. He stared at me, jaw tight, like he was trying to decide whether to roar or laugh. Later, the manager, Tom, pulled me into his office. He told me what Callahan had done to every person out there. False accusations, arrests, ruined careers, all because they dared to make a mistake in his presence. He looked at me hard. "You seem like you can handle yourself, Claire, but don't try to take him on. He will destroy you." I just said, "Then I'll have to be good at my job." But the truth, I wasn't there for the paycheck. I was there for him. A few days later, it blew up. Callahan barged in on a Saturday, 3 slick-looking business guys trailing behind. He barked for a table already full of a young couple enjoying brunch. "I'm not asking them to leave mid-meal," I said. "Corner booths open, more privacy for your meeting." His face went red. "You don't get to suggest. You clear the table. I tell you to clear." I didn't move. Not while they're eating. And that's when he went on his little rant about people like me, diversity hires, how I probably took the bus to work, and should be grateful for any scraps tossed my way. He threw a $100 bill at my feet and told me to pick it up like I should have done with the coffee. I looked at the bill, then back at him. "I'll pass. But you might want to check your email first." Phone started buzzing as first, then as buddies. I stood there while he glanced at his screen and all the color drained from his face. "Federal investigation," one of the men muttered, eyes darting to me. I took off my apron, folded it neat. "You remember Claire Morris," I said, "but maybe you remember me better as Claire Whitfield, your former CFO. You could have heard a pin drop. 3 years ago, I'd found out exactly what Vincent Callahan was doing with the pension funds and those shell companies he swore were for tax efficiency. When I tried to report it to the board, he fabricated. Evidence had me fired and made sure I couldn't get hired anywhere in finance again. So I went quiet. On paper, I disappeared. In reality, I was building a case. Every transaction, every offshore transfer, every falsified report while figuring out how to make it stick. And the missing piece, showing exactly how he treated people when he thought they were powerless. The FBI had been waiting for my signal. Every word he'd said to me in that cafe, every insult, every illegal demand, every racial slur, recorded. One-party consent state. He'd just given them the last puzzle piece, civil rights violations, to add to the financial charges. Black SUVs pulled up outside. Agents in jackets strode in, read him his rights. His friends backed away like he had the plague. The new chairman of the board, someone I'd tipped off, walked in and announced Callahan was done effective immediately and that restitution would be paid to everyone he'd wronged. As they cuffed him, Vincent looked at me one last time. "Why?" he asked. "Why go through all this?" I said. "Because Sarah deserves better. Because Tom deserves better. Because money doesn't make you untouchable." He was still shouting as they shoved him into the SUV, but the only thing anyone heard was the click of the door. The cafe was buzzing, half disbelief, half relief. Some of the staff felt betrayed I hadn't told them, but I told them the truth. If you'd known, he could have destroyed you too. This way, the risk was all mine. I proposed the board hand the cafe over to its employees, a co-op model. The new chairman smiled and said, "Let's make it happen." News crews swarmed in. Hashtag Callahan collapse trended nationwide. Former victims came forward, including Marcus, a law student he'd framed years earlier, ready to testify. And my foundation was born, standing up together. We'd train workers to document abuse, gather legal evidence, and protect themselves. A year later, I sat in court as they sentenced him to 45 years without parole and $800 million in restitution. The judge called his crimes a blend of greed and cruelty this court has rarely seen. He asked me, "Was it worth it?" I told him, "I didn't destroy your life. Vincent, you did. I just made sure there were consequences." Now, the cafe renamed Claire's Place as a community hub. Free legal clinics, job training, and a bulletin board full of success stories from people who fought back against their own Callahans. The company he built on intimidation is now Phoenix Corp, run with profit sharing and transparency. And funny enough, making more money than ever. Some nights I'll get a call from someone I've never met. A secretary whose boss is skimming funds. A janitor who saw drugs being sold out of the hospital basement. They always start the same way: "I don't know if anyone will believe me." And I always say, "I believe you. Let's talk about keeping you safe while we build your case. Justice takes time, but it comes. So tell me, was I right to play the long game, to take the humiliation if it meant bringing down a man who'd hurt so many? Or should I have gone for the quick strike and risked him slipping away again? And more than that, how many Callahans do you think are still out there, hiding behind their money and power, counting on our silence?" I want to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments, because maybe the first step in stopping them is talking about them.